listening to Sports Radio Detroit.
Welcome to Grave Discussions. I'm your host, Barnabas.
And I am your co-host, Samael. Welcome to episode 92. It was just a color. So to answer your question, no, we're not doing the turning this week.
Yeah, no, we had the option because they both actually came out on the same day. But apparently it's a good thing that we didn't do the turning because it was...
I heard it was shite.
Yeah. The ending was apparently super confusing and shit. And I heard like nothing but bad things.
It's fucked up.
Yeah. But on the flip side, we are going to be reviewing Color Out of Space today, which is Richard Stanley's first horror film that he's directed in like 20 years or like more than 20 years. And it's a new Lovecraft adaptation. So pretty exciting things just from those. But yeah, we're going to be talking about it a little later on in our main segment.
Spoiler alert, he's making more Lovecraftian movies.
Yeah, we're going to dive more into that here in just a moment. But first, as always, we do have to give a special shout out to our host network, Sports Radio Detroit.
Yes, hello you guys. And you can find them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Just look up SRD, Sports Radio Detroit. And you can go check out the website at sportsradiodetroit.com. Check out some of the merch we got going on there too, you guys.
Yeah, there's a cool little Fanatic sponsorship. So you guys can buy some stuff, support SRD, and support Metro Detroit sports teams as well if you're into that.
Yes.
So, guys, as we do every week, we've got a bunch of news. Now, there's some cool announcements, and then there's some okay trailers, but... there were actually more cool announcements. I guess if you're interested, they're redoing Anaconda.
Okay.
So that's that. And this first one, though, is pretty cool. Why don't you tell us about this one, Sam?
So, they're doing another adaptation of Who Goes There, which was the book that The Thing and The Thing from Another World were, inspired by, and it was where they originated. And now this new movie that's coming out is going to be another adaptation. They had an actual novel, a full novel that they just, that just came out of the blue, Frozen Hell, which is basically the full story. And now they're going to make a new The Thing with all of these extras and all of this backstory from Frozen Hell.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Honestly, I know a lot of people are still kind of up in arms about it because we don't need a new Thing or whatever. I am interested to see how it turns out because obviously, even in The Thing, there's a lot that's mysterious about the entire situation, about the alien and all of that, which I think does work to his advantage, obviously. But if there's some cool context and, some apparently vital backstory, I guess it could be cool to see. But I think at the end of the day, it's still going to be the core thing, So unless the rest of it is really substantial, I still think this is largely just, a money grab. But,
oh, yeah, with all the remakes and everything. And now that Frozen Hell just got unsurfaced or whatever the hell, they're like, hey, why not make a movie about this? Next, they're going to find, like, an unabridged, like, H.P. Lovecraft fucking novel or a Stephen King unabridged novel. And they're just going to be like, hey, let's do the Langoliers next. And I'm calling it. They're going to do Langoliers. Watch.
That would be interesting. Yeah, the one big thing for me is like, well, where did they even discover this, full thing? Because John W. Campbell, who was the original author of the story, I don't know if he called it Frozen Hell or if it was just Who Goes There. I don't know where they found this thing. So I'm still excited for it, but there are definitely some questions that I guess I personally would like answered.
Yeah.
Because I just want to make sure that it's not like, hey guys, what if we just, add on some shit to the thing, and say that it was the author's idea and let's make a bunch of money off of it.
Yeah.
That would suck. But yeah, we'll see. I wonder if they incorporate any of like the prequel story into it. We'll see. But that's going to be coming out at some point, and it's going to be coming from Universal Studios and Blumhouse. Any thoughts on that?
It's a good collab. I mean, Universal sometimes is, they got their little blockbusters and stuff, so I hope The Thing would be a blockbuster, because it would just be cool to get more eyes on that. Not a lot of people that are outside of the horror community ever even heard of The Thing, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's still definitely a popular movie, but you're probably right about that. It is more of an iconic thing in the horror community.
Yes.
But let's move on from that. Once there's more info, we'll try and let you guys know. Next up, there was, of course, more remake news, but I wanted to highlight this because Issa Lopez, who just did Tigers Are Not Afraid, which is a great movie, is directing a brand new film called Book of Souls.
And with a little help from Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not sure if he is working on Book of Souls, but she's also working on like another thing that he's producing. So I think that's the distinction. But I mean, they're both two cool ideas. The one with Del Toro is like a werewolf western.
It's kind of weird.
I mean, it's unique.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like weird as in like I've never seen a werewolf western.
Yeah. I think there was like this indie one that was kind of set in like a period with like a werewolf, but it was some, like really low budget thing. So I never even saw it. But the other one that she's working on is kind of sounds pretty cool. It's about a world in which some babies are born without souls, and a young pregnant mother is sent to this weird wellness center in the desert and is trying to develop a healthy baby. That's really kind of it. So it sounds like it's going to be some, kind of more fantastical again.
I think there's going to be a cult, and I think at the wellness center, and I think they're going to like eat the baby just because like the baby doesn't have a soul. And they're going to be like, if it doesn't have a soul, it doesn't count. And then they just kill the baby and eat it.
I mean, it's an interesting premise, yeah. I wonder if it is going to be some crazy shit like that.
It probably is, honestly.
Yeah.
There's always some like crazy twist or like crazy explanation. It's like, I need treatment for my anxiety. Now I'm gonna go at this unorthodox new thing that they got. Oh no, they're cutting off people's arms and sewing on butterfly wings, some shit like that.
Man. That would be something.
Don't steal my idea.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know if anyone can pull that off. But that's going to be coming out again. I don't think there's a firm date for that, but she's got two things in production. Now, next up, as you alluded to earlier, with us talking about Color Out of Space today, more Richard Stanley news. Like you said, he's going to be doing the Dunwich horror next.
It's pretty cool. First, on the mainstream wave, everyone's all Stephen King this, Stephen King that.
Yeah.
And now in the more low-key sector of horror, they have all these Lovecraftian adaptations. So I want to know what the hell is going on. Yeah,
Lovecraft has always been kind of like a more, I guess, not even artsy, but just something that like the blockbusters won't really touch out of fear that, it'll drive people away and things like that. But it's really interesting stuff. And even the movies that are kind of influenced by Lovecraft, but not necessarily set like, or not necessarily based on his actual books, are pretty good. Like In the Mouth of Madness was awesome. And there are so many other films, like Castle Freak is great. We'll talk more about that, but I've always enjoyed those kind of movies just because they're not super in your face with exposition. They're always really kind of interesting, feature like cool monsters and things like that. So I read like the premise of the Dunwich horror and it sounds pretty cool. So I'm excited.
I am too, honestly. More Lovecraft. Let's bring it to the mainstream because like that dude was fucking wild.
Yeah.
I mean, even now on Amazon, they sell the Necronomicon, which, like, some people say it's a hoax. Some people say it's supposed to be seen as a hoax, but it's real. Like, people are supposed to, like... And I just ordered, actually, my Lovecraftian Necronomicon. Literally, probably 5 minutes ago.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah. I don't know if it's real, but I guess you'll find out.
Oh, yeah, I mean...
But it is one of his creations.
If Cthulhu comes, visits me during the night, we'll see.
I guess we'll find out maybe next week.
On grave discussions.
Yeah, but no, it's still cool. They're planning, hopefully, to start filming it, I think before the end of the year, which is pretty sweet. So we might even see it, 2021, early 2022 or something.
I kind of want to see that.
Yeah. With what he did with Color Out of Space, again, we'll save that for the main discussion, but I am looking forward to it because just the premise sounds wacky, and I think he could definitely pull it off. So also, they're going to be going back to Miskatonic University for the first time since Reanimator. So that's another fun tidbit. Yep. So that's that. Once we have more info, we'll keep you posted. Now for some trailers. Now, there weren't a ton of trailers this week, but I think for the most part, these look pretty all right. The first is for this kind of weird supernatural revenge thriller called The Dark Red.
I was kind of interested in that one.
Yeah, it's it looks pretty interesting. I'm not exactly sure what's going on.
I don't know. Anything with cults is kind of interesting to me.
Yeah, and it has been on kind of a trend recently, too.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's with, like, I think Apostle started all this shit recently. Because that movie was fire.
There have been some cult movies scattered, here and there. I mean, even Hereditary.
I mean,
technically.
It really started with Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
We want to be technically.
But, we would see, a prevalent one maybe every couple of years or something. Mm-hmm. But recently it's definitely been kind of growing. This one kind of following suit. This cult kidnaps this woman's baby because it's got some kind of supernatural abilities passed down through like the bloodline. And then she goes away to some mental institution because she's screaming about cults, I guess. She breaks out and she goes after these people to get her baby back, is essentially what I got from it. But it does look well shot. It looks pretty tense. And it's from the co-director of The Signal, Dan Bush, which I've heard that movie is pretty trippy and pretty good. So
The Signal.
Yeah, I think that's the one with Lawrence Fishburne in it. It's like the sci-fi thing.
Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix, so I want to watch it at some point. But the premise is pretty cool. It's not like your typical cult / revenge movie, even though it's sort of like about, kidnapping this kid or whatever.
Yeah.
But that one's coming out March 26th on VOD and in limited theaters. Now, this next one is probably the craziest of the bunch.
That's the one I really want to see.
This one is called Vivarium, coming out March 27th, so the next day, on VOD.
And it stars Imogen Poots and...
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, I never knew his name. I just, like, whenever I see him, I'm like, hey, it's dude from Superbad, and that's all I know him by.
Yeah. I mean, I like him. He does some serious roles pretty well. I don't know if this is going to be more comedic. It looks really weird. Basically, they play this couple who show up in this, like, housing development type of place. And, it's like one of those Stepford Wives types of neighborhoods. Like, every house looks the same. Everybody looks the same and is really way too nice. And
you don't really see too many people during the trailer, though. Like, the salesman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really weird,
and
actually.
Then, like, the kid that they appointed to them that grew over 5 feet tall in, like, 96 days.
Yeah.
What the fuck is that about? Mutant children?
I don't know.
Stepford kids?
I mean, you even heard him at the end. But yeah, basically, they play these parents. They get lost in this place. And then, like, they can't figure out how to get out. It just seems, like, endless. And they get, I guess, gifted this child.
In a cardboard box.
Yeah, and it's like, if you raise him, then you'll be released or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's just a bunch of strange stuff that's shown. So I don't know how it all connects. I don't know what's going on. Kind of seems like some creepypasta shit almost.
Yeah.
But the concept of being stuck somewhere that seemed normal and then it kind of like changes. And I don't know. It's just that's kind of like a anxiety ridden situation for me. So I'm pretty into this one. But yeah, that's coming out March 27th. Finally, a new vampire movie called Caleb is going to be coming out sometime this year. There's no firm date yet, but...
And they were all speaking in a European language that I could not... I'm guessing it's Romanian because, you know, Dracula and whatnot. Or it could be German. Yeah, we are the German vampires. We love the Rammstein.
I want to say it might be Italian because it's like Alex D'Antona, Francesco Emulo, Roberto D'Antona, something, and then a bunch of other actors. Is that Italian?
I'm assuming.
Yeah. But either way, the trailer shows this woman who goes to this, you know, small little European village somewhere. I think searching for her sister who went missing. And people apparently didn't care enough to search more or something like that. So she goes on this journey to this town, and there's a vampire there.
Of course.
Of course. More than that, I actually don't really know. There's just a bunch of like imagery and him biting people.
And like some dialogue where they're just like, und Wangenhustenheifen, and we're just like, yep, don't speak that.
Yeah. I mean, there's subtitles in the trailer, but... you know, it doesn't really give a lot away as far as like the plot goes.
Yeah, no, so I don't know, I'm interested to see that. The last like great vampire movie I saw was From the Dark.
Oh yeah. That
one's on Shudder now, by the way.
Yeah. I know.
But I own it, so it's okay.
If you guys haven't seen that one, I definitely recommend it. I think it is really under the radar, but
it is, but
it's pretty cool.
Wild.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The way they use the lighting and everything in that movie is sick. This one kind of looks more of like I don't want to say like a Dracula ripoff, but like they're definitely
stereotypical castle in a European town type of ordeal, Harry Potter-ish vibes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got like the brides, and he dresses up like in that dark suit, and he's got the pale face and everything like that. So I definitely see shades of Dracula as like influence in this movie. So, but I want to see how it all plays out because it looks like it could be interesting.
And Caleb is like Dracula's stepson.
Maybe.
Caleb, don't go out there. They are hunters. The Van Helsings.
Speaking of which, you got to watch What We Do in the Shadows. That's a good one too.
I think I have it.
Yeah,
I have it, don't I?
I'm pretty sure you do.
I do.
Watch it. So go check out Caleb. It's going to be distributed sometime in 2020. That's all it says. But that's going to wrap it up here for the news this episode. Now, stick around. Just a few minutes, we'll be back, and we're going to be talking about Richard Stanley's return to the horror genre with Color Out of Space. Stick around. We've got just a few messages from some other SRD shows.
All right, Fred. So the people at Sports Radio Detroit want us to cut a promo for Parsons and Slow.
Want them to cut me a check for Parsons and Slow.
Well, I've Googled some keywords, and I'm going to put them here in a promo. So here it goes. Ready, Fred?
Yeah, analytics away.
Parsons and Slow. We have the content consumers crave. Listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere else that podcasts are available, or we'll kill you. We won't really kill you. Just listen to our podcast, brand new, every Friday on Sports Radio Detroit.
Okay, I'm ready to do the promo.
Oh, that was it.
Do you love pop culture? Discussions about pop culture? Ranking and rating treasured pieces of that shared culture against each other?
I mean, I do think Flea's a good bass player. He does what he does very well. And like I said, he's like a rock star, you know? He's eccentric. What is so funny?
I just didn't know he talked so long about Flea. I didn't know anybody had so many feelings.
I do.
So many
I got
feelings.
Yeah.
Music, movies, television, food, sports, pro wrestling. We are the determination of what is over or underrated across all fields of greater cultural consumption. Subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts and Podbean, or visit us at sportsradiodetroit.com. Over Under Fair, your final word in pop cultural relevance.
Welcome back, fiends. So, as promised, today we are going to be discussing Richard Stanley's comeback to the horror genre, Color Out of Space, which is an adaptation of the novella of the same name by H.P. Lovecraft.
And we had to go to a specific theater to see it. Had a real limited release, which I'm not sure because the budget was like $6 million. so far it's like 358,000 it made. So I think it kind of sucks that it was just a limited release, but I'm sure it's gonna make more money off the Blu-ray sales.
Well, I mean, they might actually be pushing it to a wider release. I think because it didn't get released to a ton of theaters. So actually, the money that it made was pretty damn good for like the amount of theaters that it went into. There was like an article about it on Bloody Disgusting, I think. So nothing's been confirmed yet, but they were speculating like it might actually release wider, which would be cool. I think it deserves it. I guess, you know, the reason why it was limited does kind of make sense. It's definitely not a movie for everybody.
No, it's not.
Spoiler alert, I thought it was actually a great film.
Same.
But, you know, I can see how like the general audience would just go in there, and you know what they do. They sit there, they question literally everything that's happening in the movie instead of actually like thinking about why things are framed or shot or sound a certain way or whatever, why characters act a certain way.
Yeah, they don't really think about like the big things, like you said, the camera work and like why the characters are doing what they're doing. Like, for example, in The Possession from 1981, we didn't even notice, but like the dude and his wife are going through it, and then in one shot it shows him and his wife in two different rooms separated by a wall. It's supposed to show their like emotional like wall with each other and their disconnect to their relationship and all that. And like a lot of movies do that, like with the camera work, the like how they shoot and what they shoot is supposed to have some meaning behind it, but people aren't like really that like smart to get things like that, you know. So
yeah, I mean, and you know, it's not to have like an elitist attitude or anything.
No, it's not. It's just like, all right, you don't get it, that's not your thing, you're not smart in that category of cinema. Like, you don't understand metaphors, like the movie Mother, people be like,
no,
oh, that movie's trash, but like it was an allegorical film.
Yeah, and obviously there are things that you can understand or respect more if you watch a lot of movies, or if you're kind of like a cinephile, or you study film and technique, you know, things like that. But I still think that this was very enjoyable, and I think it is somewhat accessible to people, just because you know, sci-fi kind of because of its nature is supposed to be weird, right? It's supposed to kind of introduce like thoughts and concepts that you normally like don't think of,
exactly,
and that are hard to grasp. And that's a big thing with Lovecraft too. So that was why I was excited about it, was just because I wanted to see what could become of this movie, like how weird it was going to be, you know, whether it was going to make me like question things and stuff like that.
I mean, I knew we were going to like it within the first, honestly, 10 minutes.
Yeah,
the little voiceover, and then like the panning shot of like all of that, the forest and shit, and then the girl doing like some archangel ritual from the Necronomicon so her mom doesn't have cancer anymore.
Yeah. No, I actually liked the beginning a lot. It definitely played out like a book.
Yeah.
And I haven't ever read The Color Out of Space. I actually haven't really read a ton of Lovecraft stuff personally anyway. But you know, I know like the general like Cthulhu and the great old ones, and that, you know, that there are these certain like cities where this all takes place, and you know, things like that. But I've never read the story, and I can only assume that like what he's saying at the beginning and kind of how it plays out is probably like the intro from the story. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but if so, then I think that's pretty cool to incorporate the story in that way. But the cinematography right off the bat was beautiful. I can tell that, you know, whoever was DPing this knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah, dude, for sure.
Even just like the soundtrack, the sound design, the score at the beginning with like that kind of eerie quietness and everything was very effective. So it did seem kind of artsy, but I knew that I was going to like it pretty much immediately.
I don't think it was too artsy. I mean, it's Lovecraft. It's supposed to be weird. There's supposed to be weird dialogue. Even like when they all started getting affected by the color, like they were all like, what they were saying to each other was just so like awkward at times, and it was like you felt like you were like on acid, or that's what it's like. They're literally talking to each other like they're on acid. Like none of this stuff really makes like too much sense, and it's just that like weird fucking dialogue. Like Like, damn, someone wrote this down and had them say it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's probably what people would say to each other if they were like, you know, it's just like two schizo people talking to each other. It seemed like at times when they were all under the influence of the meteorite.
Yeah, no, they were definitely slowly going crazy, but it was kind of cool to see because, yeah, you're right. I mean, the dialogue didn't feel like it would naturally kind of flow from like a regular person.
Yeah, it didn't.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem forced either. It just seemed like it was legit dialogue. It was like, it was good acting. Like they were really interacting with each other and talking, but it just seemed like something was off. Like you could tell that like they were starting to become extremely influenced by whatever force had crashed down onto their little farm or whatever.
Yeah.
Alpaca farm.
Alpaca farm. Yeah, so I guess some background. I mean, the original story is actually set, I think, in like the late 80s or maybe even the late 1880s. I'm not exactly sure, but it's not like modern. Obviously, it was written in like the 1920s or something like that. So I think it was the late 1880s. But, you know, obviously this was before like, you know, phones and all that kind of stuff. So the dialogue, everything pretty much in this movie that kind of happens is set what we can assume is modern day. So, you know, there are those differences, but the original story is basically the same. Some the family members have different names and stuff, but same thing happens. Meteor crashes onto this farm with this family kind of living. It's, you know, it's out in the woods. It's very rural, you know, not a lot of people around. And this indescribable color starts kind of sweeping over their land and changing like the flowers and changing the animals and things like that. And this family gets affected by it. That's the general premise. In this one, it's kind of different because not only is Nick Cage in it,
Yeah.
and he's
Bad shit.
he's fucking crazy. But they're raising alpacas for some reason to farm them for their milk. And I don't know, it's hilarious. And he's like a gardener. The last name is Gardner, so he's gardening.
You know what? Nick Cage said he would never turn down any role. And we're seeing that now, like with Mandy. I guess I think they approached him for that. He wasn't like, hey, can I be a part of this film? So Mandy, Color Out of Space. And doesn't he have another movie coming out?
I think he's got more stuff in the works, but he also did Mom and Dad too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that
He
one.
was
I
wild.
never really
in that
saw a resolution to that.
one. Yeah, I don't know, but I liked the movie though. I mean, he was great in it.
Kind of like The Crazies or some shit.
Yeah, it essentially was kind of like that. So he's been accepting like a lot more of these. I mean, I guess he accepts any role, but he's definitely settled into this like weird kind of trippy sci-fi horror type of thing.
I think he enjoys it, honestly.
Oh yeah, he can just go crazy. He can do whatever the fuck he wants. Apparently Richard Stanley wanted to direct him like his performance in Vampire's Kiss, which I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that's where that meme originates from, where it's like Nick Cage at the desk and he's going like,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
I know that meme. I was just thinking about that.
that's from that movie, I believe. And he just has this like super fucking wacky, like batshit crazy performance because I think he thinks that he's turning into a vampire. So yeah, it's really wild. But he definitely brings his own style of energy to this movie. So I think by his inclusion, it's kind of more funny just because he's so out there and his performance and character is so out there. Some people think that he talked like Donald Trump or something when he was like impersonating his dad. It's just that kind of weird shit. But, you know, the story itself, I don't think is meant to be super funny, but this movie definitely had some comedic elements, which I think worked.
They did work. They weren't too forced or any of that. And it was disturbing enough to not be like, the comedy did not overshadow the horror. It worked like comedy does in real life. Funny things happen, even in disturbing and serious situations. And like I said, it did not, the minor comedy here and there did not overshadow like how disturbing it was. It's hard not to give spoilers without talking about the disturbing, but the fusion, that really fucked with me. I mean, up until the end when then it like was all evil and shit, and I was like trying to eat her, you know, and I was like,
Yeah.
you guys won't know what I'm talking about, but shit went down.
Yeah, honestly, like, I think some people were maybe a little turned off by the length. I didn't think it was too bad. Honestly, I thought once the meteor landed and things kind of started seeming off about like the characters and about what was going
It
on.
has to slowly pick up. It's not going to be like a balls out roller coaster ride.
I mean, it was a deliberate pace, but I don't think it was boring or anything, because literally everything that was happening got weirder and weirder and weirder, and you could tell that, you know, it was off.
Like just by the dialogue and what the characters said they were going through. Like I said, like it's just how the movie is. Like, and I don't understand like the problem people have with like pacing and stuff. Like, oh, the movie's too long. Well, if it hasn't gotten its point across, and every major thing that was supposed to happen that led up to the final resolution didn't happen, then it wouldn't make much fucking sense now, would it? Like, take Michael stalking the babysitters out of like the majority of the film in Halloween, and just have it, he follows Laurie, and then Laurie just finds bodies, and then he just chases her, and that's the climax. Like, well, you have to build up to the climax. Like, it's, if you want like nonstop jump scares, like, go fucking watch The Conjuring and Insidious and all those cookie cutter paranormal
those
activity
are the people
movies.
that are like, The Curse of La Llorona was great.
Yeah.
It's like, nah,
It was
not
corny.
really. Not really. You know, this one I think had a great build up. And the cool thing, honestly, was once everything kind of started happening, your own perception of like the characters and time and things like that was skewed. Like, you didn't really know, you know, what led from one thing to another, and you don't know like how much time passed. But every scene after that, you could see like the color, you know, like expanding more, like its influence was taking over more and more.
Exactly.
And then these really weird things started happening. So I think it was actually built up, super well. I love the way that they showed it with the visuals too, you know, just like his garden, his land growing more, you know, pink or whatever. But the more you saw that, the weirder things started happening, and you could kind of tell that it was all coming to a head, you know. And then by the end of it, it was just super out there.
I like that it wasn't like too explicit on stuff either, onto like why everything's happening, what this thing is. There wasn't like a whole lot of exposition, and thank God for that.
I agree.
It's just a color out of space.
Yeah, literally. And you know, that's one thing that I think works for this movie as a Lovecraft adaptation too. Because I mean, you've seen other things based off of Lovecraft, you know, and you know,
they're fucking weird.
They are, but they're also kind of unexplained. Like, it's really just people stuck in these situations, or they're going after the, you know, this god or something like that. But there really isn't a whole lot given to like you as, you know, the reader or the viewer, because Lovecraft's whole thing, kind of his sort of overarching, you know, sort of like cosmic shit or whatever. I don't know, I was just like reading about it kind of earlier today, was really that like people are meaningless and worthless in the grand scheme of everything that's going on. And that, you know, really like what's happening to people or what they try to do in the face of all this stuff is insignificant. And that's how I felt during this movie. Yeah,
it was kind of like a hopeless movie. And I also like the fact that they weren't like too explicit on whether her rituals had anything to do with the meteorite. Because the daughter was doing rituals because she wanted to get rid of her mom's cancer. It's not a spoiler. It's just, fuck you if you think it is. It's just what happens. And then that's when the weird shit starts going down. And then she does another ritual. And then shit gets even wilder. I guess it's like sped up the process. But I think low-key her fucking with the Necronomicon did all that because initially she wished her mom's cancer away. And then that meteor showed up. And then we know everything that happened.
That would be interesting because...
but that's like a real, like, you know, deal with the devil kind of deal. It's like, hey, I wished for a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, like, you're just driving in a truck with stolen money and there's police cars after you. It's like the worst possible way for your wish to come true.
No, that's true. You know, I mean, again, the whole thing kind of ended up being like, you're not really supposed to mess with things that you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
And she does, apparently. Again, I haven't read the original story, so I don't actually know if if anybody in there like reads from the Necronomicon or does any of that stuff. So it's kind of a cool inclusion. I think some people were a little thrown off by her being like Wiccan or whatever. It's like, well, why does that matter? But if she did kind of put everything into motion, that would make sense.
Yeah, it's just that, like,
be cool.
How are these, whatever this witchcraft you're doing, how's it supposed to know exactly what you want? And you're like, oh, I wish my dog was still alive, and then you get a zombie dog trying to eat you, or you're like, oh, I wish I wasn't balding or whatever, and then all of a sudden, like, you're a werewolf. You know what I mean? It's like that type of stuff.
Yeah, or
like you have to specify exactly what you want to happen in, like, in like black magic and all those things. Like, I've done my shit. Like, you really have to specify, like, very explicitly. You can't just be like, I wish Barnabas wasn't sad anymore or whatever, and then all of a sudden, not only are you not sad, you're dead.
Yeah,
like,
right.
You just get killed by a train. It's like, yeah, he's not sad anymore. He's in spirit heaven or whatever the fuck, and it's like, you have to specify. And I think the Necronomicon had everything to do with what happened in this movie. I've been thinking about it the past week.
Yeah.
This has been bothering me.
No, I mean, you very well could be right, because that's kind of the sort of power that it has in, I think, the whole like Cthulhu mythos and everything, you know, that it's used mainly by these, like, you know, followers and like cults and stuff.
Fucking Randolph Carter.
Yeah, to summon
he was the GOAT.
These things. He was a great protagonist.
Randolph Carter, Ash from Evil Dead. I think those two in like a Lovecraftian movie would be awesome.
Like a crossover thing.
Yeah, I'd love to be Randolph Carter. So
yeah,
any independent movie listeners, you know what I'm saying? So let's do it.
I think you have to consider the original guy too, because he was great. Just the way that
he's so old now.
Yeah, it probably is. Probably 60 something.
He was probably in his like mid-20s when they did Unnameable, and that was in the 80s.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I mean, speaking of which, I think everybody in this movie does a good job. We kind of talked about the performances before.
Yeah, everyone did well. The dialogue was super weird, and they made it seem real. Like, this is really what people kind of losing their minds would kind of say to each other, as we said earlier.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. The whole crazy aspect of it, like the whole color influencing their personalities and everything like that, worked, I think, super well. You could see like that slow decline in their mental states and things like that. And some of them were affected more than others. But, well, I won't go on, but I think that was done really well. So I think the writing in general was actually pretty solid. Some people had a problem with some of the dialogue and the kind of over-the-topness of like Nick Cage's performance and things like that.
I don't think there was anything over the top.
But yeah, I think it totally worked in the context of what this particular adaptation was trying to do. Apart from that, the visuals were amazing. I think even the special effects were very good. I think that there were great practical effects too. This movie married, you know, those two really quite well, and the sound design, the score were also amazing.
Yes,
especially toward the end. Like, I was literally having like kind of anxiety, not only because of what I was seeing, but because of how. Yeah, that and pretty much everything else. Like, once the boominess of the sound design kind of kicked in and everything, pretty much all the way up, you know, through the end of the film, I thought the sound design, everything was very kind of alien and unnatural. So that worked really well for me. So I really enjoyed the entire experience, and it was exactly that. It was an experience.
I knew exactly what we were getting into. I never read the book. I just had that one of those, you know, you have a feeling before you go see it, especially if a movie is like really like marketed as being like trippy. And honestly, if it's Lovecraftian, it's gonna be like trippy anyways, or like either like super demonic or super like esoterically weird, and it's gonna have all these weird elements. And I knew we were in for a trip. Color out of space. I knew there was gonna be trippy visuals. I knew there was gonna be like borderline nonsensical dialogue when shit started hitting the fan, and that's exactly what I wanted to see. I was in my zone. I loved the movie. I felt my body was releasing dopamine as I'm watching it, and I was drinking my cherry iced tea.
Ooh.
And it was like a great experience. I'm definitely gonna go back to that theater to go see more independent if they have more horror films as well. And honestly, you guys should give this movie a shot. Like, if you're one of those horror fans, like, I like Jason and Freddy, and I don't like movies that you got to think, I just want mindless violence.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I get it. I think some people are definitely just way too ADHD or just too attached to old school stuff. I think, if something looks even remotely out of the norm for them or what they're used to, they just won't even give it a chance. But, there have been good reviews going around about this movie. I think people who actually like follow the horror genre and in general, enjoy horror and weirder stuff, I think they'll go and probably try and seek this movie out. If it does get a wider release, that's great. More people can be exposed to it. And I really hope it goes down as kind of a cult classic. People want these type of movies where, not everything is fed to them on a silver platter and it's not just all stupid shit. It's actually filmed well, produced well, has good visuals, is fucked up. And this is pretty much all of those things, So I think that this will make people happy. I did want to ask, one of the last kind of things, one of the main criticisms I heard is that the characters and stuff end up not like seeming important, like you shouldn't invest in them, or that, they don't really flesh them out enough. What do you think about that?
Yes and no. I don't think the main focus is supposed to be how much you care for these characters. I guess you're supposed to care about them, like the mom has cancer or whatever, and the daughter is like distraught, the kid's a pothead, and the dad's Nicolas Cage. So there is kind of like character development here and there when he's talking like to his wife, oh, you look even more beautiful now, and then like it makes you think like, oh, if shit hits the fan, he's still gonna be like right by her side no matter what. He loves her. And then shit hits the fan and it goes a way that you wouldn't even expect it to go.
Yeah. No, I agree actually. I mean, the whole like alien feel of the color and just everything that's happening kind of takes those things and flips them on their head, because that's really the whole point of the story. It's this kind of nihilistic, unexplainable kind of horror that really can be fleshed out in any possible way. So you have these characters, yes, they're the kind of the focus, but the point really
is look at all this shit happening to them.
And especially since the Lovecraft thing, it's really just like, well, here's this thing that fell out of the sky. Here are these humans. Humans suck. They don't matter. What are they gonna do? And that's really kind of
yeah, that's kind of depressing. But I mean, yeah, the main focus isn't even supposed to be. You're not even supposed to be like, oh, this family. You're supposed to be like, what is that thing? Why are they acting like this? Did the book do that? What's doing that? Why did that thing drop from the sky? Why? What's up with this mutant shit that's going on right now? Why is everyone crazy? What's that mosquito doing? You're literally supposed to question all of that stuff. You're not supposed to be like, oh, the family, I didn't really care about them. Like, that's just what it's happening, like, to.
Yeah.
You're supposed to figure out the it. You're supposed to think about that. Like, what's happening to them. The what and the why, not the who. You see the who. You know the who, they're you. Like, that's who they are in this movie. This is supposed to be you.
Yeah.
Like, those people are supposed to be a reflection of the audience. Like, hey, here's you guys, and here's me, H.P. Lovecraft. Fuck you guys, and fuck me too, because I don't even know what this thing is.
Basically.
That's the whole movie.
And I think it accomplishes that perfectly well. I mean, that's essentially it. Yeah.
It's like, fuck you, you don't matter. Fuck me, I don't matter. And here's those feelings personified into a color out of space. The color out of space is the fuck you and the you don't matter. And the us is the people in the movie. The meteorite is just the fuck you. You know why? Because that's why.
Because you can't do anything, that's why.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, interestingly enough, the guy who
fucking depressing.
It really is. Yeah, that guy was fucked up. The guy that kind of
racist.
Well, he was.
I mean, bro, shove nigger off.
Speciesist almost. But you're right. I mean, no, he had that reputation. But the guy that actually took over his work, whose name escapes me now, actually. I'm sorry. But I think his name was August Del something. But he started actually writing and introducing more stories that kind of had more feelings of like hope and things like that.
That's not what we want.
But no, this is definitely not that. So to kind of go into Color Out of Space, expecting this like really substantial character development and these interactions and things like that, that's not what you're going to get.
Just imagine the characters are you, and the premise is fuck you.
Yeah, basically.
That's what that is.
It's basically, yeah.
Fuck you because you suck and you're not shit. It doesn't matter who you are. I don't care if you're Donald Trump. I don't care if you're George Washington. I don't even care if you're fucking Abraham Lincoln. You're this thing. Fuck you. Here's the fuck you in the form of something from somewhere else. And what are you going to do? You can't do anything because you suck.
Yeah, it's very existential.
It's kind of
nihilistic.
Basically, we don't fucking, there's no point. We don't matter. Whatever happens to us, oh well, because we suck.
Yeah. So in that respect, I think it's a great Lovecraft adaptation. Looks phenomenal, sounds great, well acted. So this movie gets a big thumbs up from me, and I assume you as well.
Yeah, 2 thumbs and 2 big toes up. And if you're listening to this, fuck you. You don't matter. Watch this movie because even if you don't, I still fuck you. You suck still. If you see this or you don't matter.
According to Lovecraft.
Of course, according to I don't care if you're the head operator. I don't care if you own Home Depot. I don't care if you own Walmart. I don't care if you're in the judicial branch of the government.
If you're that one guy who owns a Blockbuster, still kudos to you.
Yeah, kudos to you. You're the only cool one left. You're keeping realness alive. But everyone else, like, I don't care. Fuck you. You own Kellogg's. Fuck you. Here's the demon meteorite.
Yeah.
Oh, you are. Let me just read this book and send something your way. Fuck you.
The Necronomicon is just a big fuck you.
That's how I think. That's how we should feel about ourselves. We should be nice to everyone because we're all the same shitty species. But hey, fuck you.
I mean, we get more interesting stories out of it, to be honest. So, all right. Obviously, we care about you, the listeners.
Yeah, but fuck you, though.
But according to Lovecraft, fuck you.
Yeah.
Nicest way.
I'm Lovecraft right now. I've channeled his spirit.
Perfect.
Fuck you guys. But thanks for buying my books. I didn't want these to be made into movies. Why are you doing this? Fuck you.
I don't even think he ever anticipated that this would happen. But
yeah, why are you
happening.
guys doing this? I like the movies, but hey. Darker tone. Fuck you. I hate you all.
More nihilistic.
I don't care if you read my books. They're good books. That's all I care about. All I care about is that I wrote good books. I don't care if you read them. Because you don't matter.
He died super early too, so it's not like he really could have done much. I think in his lifetime, his legacy was pretty much nothing, which is kind of sad, but at the same time, yeah, I doubt he gave a shit.
Now he's a goat.
now he's...
People talk about Stephen King, Dean Koontz, fucking... Yeah, what's the dude that... The Pendulum? Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah.
Nah, man, Lovecraft.
Lovecraft is an OG, for sure. I'm excited to see more Lovecraft stuff, honestly. I'm glad that there's more Lovecraft-based and influenced things coming out. So I'm excited to see the Dunwich Horror. Go see Color Out of Space. It was awesome.
And you're just space trash, remember?
But even space trash can go check us out on social media, Facebook and Instagram at Grave Discussions, and Twitter at GraveDiscSRD. And you can also visit our website, gravediscussions.net, for all of the latest spooky stuff. So I think that's going to wrap it up here. We've talked about Color Out of Space. I definitely recommend it. But that's going to be our time for today.
Okay, boils, ghouls, and space garbage. Spoiler alert, all three are the same people.
Ooh.
We will see you next week on Grave Discussions.
This has been an SRD production.